I try to reduce the need to have a lengthy recording. Okay, so all the questions that folks had, which were not new content, I have addressed them. But going forward, it is a new topic. So even though you have engaged the content, this is interactive session on the Unit 3 proper. And I want to take off from the questions that were asked by our dear ladies on Unit 3. When you take the slides for Unit 3, which I'm sharing now, you would see that we have talked about types of discourse. In the past, we have engaged types of statements, which were factual, value judgment definitions. There, we're referring to a complete thought with a full stop, one. For types of discourse, we are dealing with passages, a collection of sentences, not just one. So a passage, a collective. When we have a passage, we may either be arguing, narrating, look on the screen, please, instructing, or we may just be venting out emotions as always. But this time, not just one emotive expression, but a collection of them. Okay, so we may have a passage which is just a strong expression of emotion or feeling. Okay, that really is not stating anything. It's not asking anything. It's not instructing anything. It's just an expression of a strong emotion. If we have that, then we describe it as a rhetorical polemic. And so these are types of discourses that logicians identify when they hear people speak or when they see passages. A whole State of the Nation's address, for example, may be arguing, may be narrating, may be instructing, or better still, may just be emotive, okay? A polemical rhetoric or a rhetorical polemic. Now, what do we mean by each one of them? So let's start, I think, from the easiest. When we have a discourse, a passage, it may be a narrative. A narrative means you are just reporting how something happened, the sequence. So one came first, then the other, and then the other, and then the other. The order in which it happened. You are not giving reasons why we should accept or reject a certain claim. That would have been an argument, which we already met in Unit 1. When I was introducing the course to you, you make a claim, you support that claim with an evidence. That is an argument. So all women are cheats. Apologies, ladies. Nancy is a woman, myself, okay? Then it will have to mean that she's a cheat. This is an argument. The claim she's a cheat will be dependent on the assumption that all women are cheats and she is a woman. If these are true, then the conclusion I'm drawing will also be true. So what I just said, the ones I just said right now, is an expression of an argument. If this were so, then this will happen. Whenever this happens, this happens. And if this hasn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. Therefore, this. You see, that's an argument. You make a claim, and then your claim is supported by what? Evidence that you produce. The evidence is what we call premises. Another name for that is reasons. You are giving reasons to support a certain conclusion you are drawing. So an argument has two parts, and we'll get to that shortly. Argument has what? Premises and what? Conclusion. The premises may be one or several. But for conclusion, there can be only one conclusion in every argument. Take note of that, okay? But a narrative is not an argument. A narrative is also a passage, a collection of words, but it is not arguing. In other words, there isn't a reason being offered to support a certain claim being made. Not at all. A narrative is only telling you how something happened or something has happened, the sequence, the order of occurrence. The textbook has several examples. I went to the hospital this morning after having my breakfast, washing down, whatever, and here I am, full stop. This is a narration. Look at your textbook. On that page, you see several of them. Okay, you can also go for tutorials. I've given you all the links for the various TAs assigned to the course. Any of them you can enter. That is why it is accessible to you. Otherwise, we would have blocked it and only a specific group will have it. But because of our various timetables, scheduling, you can join any of the groups for any of the lecture discussions or the tutorial discussions. Only do not change your group. We won't change it for you. because we need the group fixing to help us upload your result. That's the only reason. Not even for exam. You see, when we want to upload your result, we pick group 2 list and go to the online group 2 that we have per the list we received from the university. That's all. That's the only reason. So when students want to change their application, we say no. It's not for anything. It's just so that you do not struggle finding your result. Okay, that's all. Because of the nature of the course. But content, you have access to all the content. There's an online learning assistant. If you want slides for another group, she can easily pull it there for you. That is if you can't access it to your colleagues. Of course, you should understand that that is extra work. But apart from that, you can join all the tutorial sessions. You can join all the lecture sessions, which are all online with a large class size on Google Teams. And our colleagues are very, very able and willing to help. Okay, so I'm saying that as for examples, you can create several. The textbook gives you several. You have several. Our videos give you several. So an example of a narration is what I've given you. How it happened. How it happened. She cooked the food, poured it into a bowl, covered it with a flask, and sent it home. Full stop. That's a narration. The next one on the screen is an instruction, also a straightforward one. It tells you how to do it. So it's a passage, but it's telling you how to do something, not how it was done or how it has been done. Take note, but how to do it. If to get to the junction, turn left, turn right, climb up, whatever. That is the junction. This passage is instructing. It's instructing how to, okay? How to get it. Again, the textbook gives you several examples, several examinable examples. Okay, these are examples to help you understand. You start from the base and build on it. But the textbook gives you, those of you who send emails and want to know Pasco and what have you, the textbook has compiled all that. That's why it's that voluminous. Okay, so you can, after one topic, you see activity this, example this, page this. So when you look at it, you get so many examples of a discourse that you can call an instruction to help you understand it. It describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specified order to accomplish some desired outcome. All right. Now, how about rhetorical polemic? Rhetorical polemic, I already said it. Okay, what you would have called emotive expression. But this one, it is not just one expression. It is what? A passage of it, collection of it. Why did we even vote for this government? I regret then. God will punish you. What, languages like that. It's as if you're asking a question. Remember when we did introductory session, topic 1, interrogative, in person, if you recall. I said, if someone said, who the hell do you think you are? It will come with a question mark and an exclamation. It is not a genuine question. It's not seeking information. Interrogatives will seek information. Like I say, who the hell do you think you are? Don't look at the question mark at the end of it and say, I'm asking you a question. You have to pick your bag and start moving because I'm getting emotional. It is an emotive expression. Okay. So sometimes people will say, why at all did we even vote for this kind of government? You see, God will punish all politicians in this country. The person is not saying anything that is true or false. It's not stating anything. Remember, truth value statement. No, the person is just being what? Emotive. But when we have a collection of them, usually such strong feelings, then we call it a rhetorical polemic. Look at the spelling. Rhetorical polemic. Sometimes it's also polemical rhetoric, especially when people are on the campaign ground to obey kind of language or Ghana and whatever. Beloved country is free forever. When a person is capturing something in an emotive way, your textbook has several. Africa must unite. Otherwise, this is a collection of them put together. It becomes what? Rhetorical polemic. Take your questions that you may have. If after the discussion you still have the tutorial as well, I've repeated that for a reason. Keep going so that you have authoritative hands, people that are authority somewhat in the field to assist you, because there are so many people all over the place, supposedly teaching content. Okay, it is very dangerous. Everybody's teaching. If I have taken the course before and I'm in my second or third year now, and I want to make some few whatever, I don't know if they pay for it or something, or I want to side check somebody, I will make myself available and say I'm a TA or I'm this. That is why they officially assigned folks to the courses in the university are sent to your course outline so that you are not exploited. And you can be guaranteed of content. So I've given you all the emails of the legitimate TAs assigned to the course and the lecturers that are on the program. Then we know that the content the person is giving you, when we examine you on it, we know we can vouch for it. If you learn everything everywhere, you will have your own challenge. That's why I give you the textbook, I give you lectures, I give you TAs. We are availing ourselves to take your questions. So narrative, instruction, rhetorical polemic. The last one, which you know already, I'll just let you read to cement it, is what? Argument. May I have a good reader to read what you see on the screen? Maxwella, yeah. Raise your hand to ask a question. Please read. Who said madam, please? You may read for me. Your mic is okay, so you may read it.
Hello, madam.
Please,
Argument.
Sound is very noisy.
A passage that contains a Please, should I?
Okay. Is it your background that is that noisy with the brother shouting his head off like that? Please?
Yes. Madam, I want to read.
If it is, then please, because we are recording. Okay, so I want a very clear.
Madam, I want to read.
Whose background is this noisy? Okay.
I want to read.
Dr. Miles, can I read?
Okay, the one says Dr. Miles. Please, I beg you. I think you have a good background. Can you read for us? Others can have opportunities to read. No worries. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, sister.
I want to read.
Argument.
Sister, let me mute all again. Now unmute and read. Please do not unmute if we want to have a very serious class. Let the one reading read. That's how it's done everywhere. This is the University of Ghana. Don't embarrass me, my dear friends. Hey, you know what's up. So don't behave like people that have now seen computer. Auntie, go ahead.
Argument. What's it? Argument.
My lady, read. I can hear you. Please read. Just that the background is very noisy. I don't think if it is yours, then someone else has to read. Go ahead and read. Let's
Madam, please, my background is very clear and I can read.
Please go ahead.
Madam, I'll read.
Argument.
Madam, I'll read.
That contains a single conclusion.
Madam, please, I'll read.
I want everyone's microphone
Madam, please.
off. Keep your microphones off. I have only instructed one lady to read. Let her read, please. Go ahead, my sister.
Argument. A passage that contains a single conclusion. That is presented as a logical consequence of reasons. Into brackets, premises or evidence offered. Thus, hence, therefore, so indicates conclusion. Since, if given that, provided indicates premises.
Thank you very much. Okay, please continue. All what I've said is already what you saw on the
An
screen.
argument.
So elaboration. So continue. Yeah.
An argument is not the use of aggressive language or demeanor in an attempt to shout down or intimidate an opponent.
Very good. Continue,
Win
please.
at all costs. An argument simply means making a claim and giving reasons why that claim should be accepted.
Very good. These are all straightforward. I have said all of this already. I'm just walking you through to help your understanding so that those who ask a question about rhetorical polemic and what have you can be clear. We are still moving gently, steadily to verbal dispute and substantive disagreement. Okay. Sister, continue.
An argument is a set of statements, only one of which is the conclusion.
Yeah.
Claim.
Antonia,
Which one attempts to support, justify, or prove with reasons.
Sister, please unmute again and continue. Eh? We had someone still speaking at the background.
Okay. Every argument has two parts. Conclusion, the claim being made. Premise, the reasons or evidence intended to support the claim.
Very good. That is when we see that, then our work as critical thinkers start. When we see someone make a claim and support it with an argument, with a premise, then we now interrogate it. That hold on. Then we interrogate it to find out whether, granted that the premises were true, we'll be required to accept the conclusion that comes with it. Okay, so that is when our work starts. Very good. Now let's look at some examples of arguments. You see, I give you a reference, refer to activity 4.1 of your unit 3 for more elaborate, examinable examples. Okay, these are teachable or like learnable examples that will give you understanding. And then now we can examine you to see if you really understood it. So let's look on the screen now very well, friends. I want someone to tell me what the conclusion of argument 1 is. Raise your hand. I will call you. If you want to answer that, I see 21 hands already. But you raise it. I'll select who I want to call because some people to just raise their hand. What is the conclusion of argument 1 on the screen? I want Hannah to answer. Hey, Hannah, you are my mother. Answer the question, please. Don't embarrass my mother, please.
Please, a question again.
Oh, Hannah, you are not there. I shall give you opportunity for a mark. And as well, yeah, also. Hannah, listen to my Suela, okay?
Okay.
Hello.
Masuela, speak. We can hear you. Answer the question I asked.
So the conclusion, the first one is all students write exams. That is a claim being made.
My sister, I missed you a little. Please, what is the conclusion of example 1? Go ahead, please. I missed it.
All students write exams.
Okay, thank you, but that is not correct. Okay, so listen to your friends. I think someone else will help out. The conclusion. You see, when our lady read this, look at this slide. That is why I made us read it too, so that you will see. The whole class will see something. See the types of discourse, argument, then the bulleted points there. I said examples are this: what? Thus, hence, therefore, so. These words indicate conclusion. Then the next one said since, if, given that, provided. These words indicate what? Premises. Your textbook gives you 1,001 examples. You should engage it. Even right now, we have read it. So now afterwards, we have an argument on the screen, sorry. Then I'm asking you to tell me that don't struggle to find out whether it is an argument or not. We have already presumed that they are arguments. The question is for you to tell us what the conclusion is. Is that what I said? Conclusion. So of example 1. What's the conclusion? Ante? Bridget, go ahead. What's the conclusion of the example on the
No,
screen, Bridget?
please. So she writes
So
exams.
she writes exams.
Okay, so you don't include the so because that is only a pointer. You just write down the conclusion.
Madam.
She writes exams. Very good. So that is the conclusion. That's what the person wants to say. Okay, the rest are the reasons grounding what the person wants to say. You have to understand this before we launch into Unit 6. Otherwise, confusion. Go Unit 6, I already warned you also the first discussion. Unit 6 is heavy. It's not impossible, but you will engage it. It's not a joke. Unit 6 will do deduction, modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, disjunctive syllogism, affirming the antecedent, negating the consequent, false hypothetical. We didn't come to joke. This course is not a joke. So I want you to understand some basic things before we move there. Otherwise, you will struggle. Okay? So you should know premise.
Yes, madam.
You should know conclusion. You should know the indicator words. Sometimes you even have the indicator words there, but the passage you have may not be an argument at all. It may just be a narrative, polemical rhetoric, or even an instruction. That's why we went through that. So how will you know that it's an argument? When there is a logical inference. In other words, when someone says something and in that same passage, the person is attempting to give you reasons why you should accept what is said or you should reject it. Okay, so there is a premise or premises, there might be more, and a conclusion. When those come together, you form an argument. Now, there will be types of arguments and all, but I want us to go slowly. First, identifying premises and distinguishing them from what? Conclusions. So now that we all can tell what the conclusion of argument 1 is, let me find out if someone else can tell us what the conclusion of argument 2 is. What is the conclusion of argument 2? Abena sewa ayedinim. What's the conclusion? Abena, make us proud, make us proud. Go, go, go. What's the conclusion of example 2?
She is hospitable.
She is hospitable. Very good. Well done. So we know how to identify our conclusions and distinguish it from premises. If you have another gadget by you, say your friend is also listening to it or something, it will give us feedback. I shouldn't prompt you. You should know that. So don't keep another gadget that I'm speaking through, someone else is listening to the same video and you are all at one place. You'll be giving us feedback. Someone should use earphone and put it on their ear so that the sound there doesn't get back into the gadget. How will you do international calls then? Or when the radio station folks call you when you have become a star? You don't know how to do that. Please keep the things muted. It's recorded. I don't want to be saying things like this in our recording, but you are doing it. 1 or 2 people, maybe not students. They are not part of us. They joined us mistakenly. All right, let's continue. So you know arguments. You can identify the conclusion. And since there can be only one conclusion in an argument, the rest are what are premises. So you see that both example 1 and example 2, apart from their conclusions, have all. A deductive argument that has 2 premises leading to what? A conclusion. 2 premises leading to a conclusion. That's one conclusion. So it's 3 steps. 2 of them are premises, and then the other one is a conclusion. And it is deductive. If it's so, then we'll describe it as a syllogism. So when we advance, you see that all the 4 patterns of reasoning we will learn in Unit 6. Learn it now. Syllogism. Okay, that includes modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, and disjunctive syllogism. See that disjunctive syllogism and hypothetical syllogism come with the name syllogism, so it's easy for you to know that they are syllogisms. But modus ponens and modus tollens are also syllogisms, so know it now. There are two premises leading to a conclusion, and they are deductive, so we call them syllogisms, okay? Now back to what we are discussing now. So you know your premises. If I ask you to identify the premise in example 1, apart from the statement, Amma is a student. What is the premise in example 1, apart from the statement, Amma is a student? What would you say? Keep your hand up. Christabel Amejo. Christabel, what would you say? You heard my question, right? Good, answer. Christabel, answer, please. You are muted. Sorry, Christabel. So unmute and answer. Nathan Botre. I think Christabel is having difficulty. So let's take Nathan Botre.
All
Nathan,
students
are you able
write
to speak?
exam.
Go ahead. Yes, all
Yes.
students write exam.
All
Very good.
students
So
write
that would
exam.
be exactly. That would be the other premise left if we take out Amma is a student. Well done. Now, how about the second one? Apart from most Ghanaians are hospitable, which other premise do we have there? I want a chorus answer. People want to talk, so give a chorus answer.
Oh, madam doesn't want to call the boys, so. Oh.
Give a chorus answer, then we can continue.
My mother is a Ghanaian.
Very good. My mother is a Ghanaian. Very good. So you got the thing about argument. All right, thank you very much. So don't unmute now. Thank you so much. One person wants to hear the sound in a certain way. If you have challenges, just get an earphone, fix it there. The noise will not come back. But if you keep it as a speaker, we will have challenges, okay? So I want to disable everyone for a while. I'm sorry, I have to do that and do a monologue. And afterwards, I will take questions, okay? I think that will help us. If you have to interject, you won't be able to do so, unfortunately, okay? So let's work that way. Great. Now, you know argument, you know narrative, you know instruction, and you also know rhetorical polemical rhetorics. I want to, at this stage, quickly introduce you to two types of argument, two ways of giving reasons to support claims that we make, two types of argument. The first type, you should be looking on the screen. If you had the premises to be true, you know premises now. The reasons I'm offering, if they were true, it will mean that the conclusion must also be true, must. Otherwise, we'll create a contradiction. If the premises are true, if, it doesn't mean they are actually true. But if we were to assume the premises to be true, it will require that the conclusion must also be true. That type of argument will be called deductive argument. D for Daniel, deductive argument. It means that a conclusion is drawn from the premises directly. So if you take the premises to be true, it already means you have accepted the conclusion also as true. That is why you can't accept the premises as true and reject the conclusion it comes with. If you have an argument related that way, then we call it a deductive argument. I'm talking about the relationship, conclusion, and the premises. If they are the way I have described it, one does not go without the other. If you pull the premises, it pulls along the conclusion. then it is a deductive argument. And I gave an example earlier. If I said all women are cheats, and I added my lecturer is a woman, obviously, if I had asked for a chorus answer, we will all conclude, then my lecturer is a cheat. It may be that all women are cheats. It's not true. It may be that my lecturer is a woman. That statement is not true. It may be. We are not talking about whether it is actually true out there or false, but we say if we were to assume that all women are cheats, and we further assume that my lecturer is a woman, then we will be obliged to accept then that then she is a cheat like all women. So it is a relationship, a conditional relationship between what conclusion and the premises that comes with it. So when do we say an argument is deductive? We're looking at types of arguments. Write it down. We say it is deductive if the conditions that make the premises true require its conclusion to also be true. That's technical. Okay. Simply put, if we are obligated to accept the conclusion as true, granted that the premises are also true. If so, then that reasoning is what? Deductive. However, we can have an argument where even if the premises are true, we take the premises to be true, we are not obliged to accept the conclusion also as true. In other words, this second type of argument, you could accept the premises as true. It will not necessitate, it will not require necessarily that you accept the conclusion also as true. It means there is no necessary causal relation between premises and conclusion. That one is called inductive argument. Inductive, induced, is forced onto. The conclusion is forced onto the premises, the way some sisters force themselves on some brothers. Okay, so deduction, induction. Now let's try and see if the two examples that you yourselves helped us work with are either deductive or inductive. We want to see if those two examples are either deductive or inductive. Who would diagnose example 1 for me? I'll go quickly and have to go. This is so much work, friends. I have to go and allow again. You shouldn't do that. You are growing. Okay. If you have a response, raise your hand. Let me call you. Tell me which type of argument is the first one. Argument 1 on your screen. I will call please close my meeting. Okay. I thought I let me take, please mute your microphone. Let me call you. Have I called anybody? Lisa Kise, go ahead. Which type of argument is the first one and why? This is a very active class. What if one hands have shut up? 42, 43. Lisa, please go ahead. There are other options, okay? Lisa, example 1. Is example 1 deductive or inductive and why? This is a possible exam question. Those who like particle. Oh, you can't see example 1. Sorry, can you see it now? It's still on the screen.
No, please, I also can't see it.
I can't see anything on my screen.
Please, I also can't see anything.
Can see.
Please, I can now see it. Thank you.
Please, everyone keep quiet. I wonder if can someone see?
Doctor, please, I can't see.
Oh,
Yes,
I don't want those who cannot see. I'm asking, can someone?
Please, I can see.
I can see.
I can see.
Yes, that's fine. So not worry, it happens. Those who cannot see, this is something like what happens when you keep your phone on for a while. It sleeps by itself.
I see.
So it will come. Okay, touch your gadget a little. Let's take Bridget, can you see? If you can see, tell us. It's example 1.
Yes, I can.
Deductive.
Madam, please, I think it's deductive.
I or D?
Madam,
Let me
please.
answer my question. Is it D for deductive, right? Why? Why?
Yes,
Explain.
madam.
Yes. The expression is for those whose gadget went off. So all students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exams. All students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exams. And she says it's deductive, and she's going to give her
Dr.
reason.
Nancy, please, can I?
Yes, please. Go ahead. Go ahead and explain. Please go ahead and explain.
Madam, please, I think it's deductive because I think it's deductive because
Hey, Auntie, because remember.
Please, can I hear okay?
We can hear you clearly. I just say
Okay.
because
Can I hear
nothing
okay?
can. Yes, Auntie, go ahead. The one who wants to help. Go ahead.
Okay,
No,
madam.
go ahead.
Madam, please,
Go
it's
ahead.
deductive
Go ahead.
because
Go ahead.
the conclusion can be drawn from the argument.
From the premises. The conclusion depends solely on the premises for its truth. Yes.
Thank you.
So let me explain further. So if we were to accept that, listen, if it were true that all students write exams, you know, some students don't write exams. Some students just do research paper or what, 10 papers, especially graduate students. Okay? So it may not even necessarily be true that all students write exams. But the issue is if we were to assume to be true that all students write exams, that's our first premise. In addition to that, we also assume that Amma is a student. Take note, Amma is a student. This is Amma writes exams. All students write exams. Amma is a student, or all students, and Amma is a student. If I accepted these two premises, I will be obliged necessarily to accept the conclusion that comes with it, which is what? That she writes exams. This she writes exams that I'm concluding is based on the two premises. If I took it to be true, the two of them to be true, I have no other option than to accept also as true the third one, the conclusion drawn. Why? Because this conclusion is already part of the premises. Okay, that's why it's need. Let me finish, okay, and show you the contrast. Then I ask questions. Maybe as I show the contrast, the confusion will go. Okay. So hold on with your question, write it down so you don't forget. So the first one we have just done is an example of deduction. It is called modus ponens. You will learn all the types later. Right now, just know why we say it's deductive. Deductive because the truth of the premises will guarantee the truth of the conclusion. How about the second one? The same lady, if you can, please read the second one for me. Read more, please. Why?
Most
Dr.
Ghanaians are hospitable.
Most Ghanaians are hospitable. The next one, please.
My mother is a Ghanaian, therefore she is hospitable.
Would someone think that this is inductive or deductive? And why?
It is inductive.
It is inductive.
Okay, so I got some
Inductive.
notorious students, but because their background is quiet and they're ladies, it wasn't too loud. It's inductive.
Yes.
Inductive. Why? Let a gentleman answer, please. Let me call some. The thing is, when you call the people, the ones you call, they won't read. Either they are asleep or Samuel Asiedu.
Now we are here, we read.
Samuel Asiedu. Please tell me why it is inductive. Hey, 50 hands up. Wow.
Yes, madam, I want to answer.
Madam, I want to answer.
Who is talking? The brother with the bass. Talk. So
Yes,
that
madam.
you can shut up.
Okay.
Samuel, hold on.
Okay, so most Ghanaians are hospitable. This means that the fact that most Ghanaians are hospitable means that some Ghanaians are not hospitable. So you can't draw the conclusion that since the mother is a Ghanaian, she's hospitable.
Yes, very good. Nicely done. Because my mother need not necessarily be part of the most. Most means there is still an exception, like your friend said. Beautiful answer. So this one, the premises, the truth of the premises, even if we accepted that the premises are all true, if we accept it, we can engage it and contest and argue and disagree, but we could choose to agree. Okay, let's agree that it is true that most Ghanaians are hospitable. Take note of what I'm teaching you. Is a preamble to Unit 6. If you learn this very well, Unit 6 will sail through like, water. But if you don't, it will be sticky. So I'm using that to help you at the time that we are discussing argument in Unit 3. I'm touching on that. That's why we are taking a lot of time. Okay. All right. So my mother may be a member of the Ghanaians, but remember what the person said. The person said most, didn't say all. Therefore, we may accept the premises. We will not be required necessarily to accept the conclusion that comes with it. That is how come the second example on your screen now is an inductive argument, not a deductive argument. I said that note that sometimes if the premises are true, it becomes necessary to accept the conclusion also. Then that would create a deductive argument. Excellent. Someone tell me whether example 3 is inductive or deductive. Then I'll take your friend's question. Example 3 says, since the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, he stole the project leader's laptop. Refer to activity 4.1, your Unit 3. You have such examples again. Since the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, he stole the project leader's laptop. Is it I or D?
Madam.
Okay, all of us.
It's I.
Very good. It's I. Very good. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the class. Very good. An inductive argument. Well, okay.
I.
Okay, it's okay. How about the second one? See, wait, let me read the second. Every registrar of UG is a member of staff of UG. Mrs. Otuaye is the registrar of the
D.
Deductive.
D.
Deductive.
I'm telling you something. I said because of the second premise, I had to edit it so that it will be every registrar of UG is a member of staff of UG. Premise 1. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I don't want to talk. So when I say keep quiet, please do I don't even want to talk. So I made you give some chorus answers. Now I said keep quiet. Look at the second premise. It says Mrs. Otuaye is the registrar of, it should be the registrar of what? UG. Well, it won't change. Nothing changes really. Because I said it's the registrar of the Faculty of Humanities, still of what? Of UG. So she's still a registrar. Therefore, she's a member of staff of UG. Well done. That's deductive. Excellent. Well done. The whole class is
Amen. If for amen.
Don't worry, we get it for you. We get it. It's for you.
Get it for me, Papa. Get A's for me. I like A Basa. But you earn it. I know you're working hard for it.
Don't worry.
So we can finish up.
Don't worry, madam.
Yes, madam. We have some 5 minutes to go. I think we've used our time efficiently. The 5 minutes left, let me help you. Yes, catch up. And I think we have a relatively lesser video. The video is not that heavy, it's not large, because we are focusing on what you need, okay, as an addition to what is already there. So if you can comport yourselves like you've already done, with the exception of one or two few people, let's finish up with, see this example. Now you are able to interrogate them. See these examples, touching on something, then I'll do the verbal dispute and substantive disagreement question that came. We will look at deduction and valid deduction and what is it? Maybe I should let you do it. It will help you. On the screen now we have bats are mammals and they can fly. So some mammals can fly. you see why that is deductive. If it is true that bats are mammals and they can fly, then we have no other way around than to admit that then some mammals can fly, because bats are mammals and bats can fly. Then it means some mammals can fly. Okay, the next one says the administrator will arrive on time since she's never been late a day in her life. A, is this deductive? Not necessarily. It's inductive, because for the first time she could be late. Even if it is true that she has been late in the past, doesn't mean that she can't be late today. Okay? She can be late first. Excellent. Then, excuse me. Yes.
But I have a question.
Okay, then let me excuse me. Let me pause and say question. Go ahead, sir. Then I'll.
Hello?
Please ask your question, sir. Ask your question.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, since the second example that you just showed, could you please show it? I can't see it on my screen anymore.
Which one is this? The administrator one.
After the
administrator.
mammals thing.
Yeah, the administrator.
Yeah, that one.
I'm showing that now. Yeah. Can you see it now?
No.
Oh, I'm showing.
Madam, please, I can also not see.
Okay, now I can see. Yeah, I can see it now. I can see it now.
Check your network.
Yeah, so yeah, I
Madam,
can see it now.
please, I can't see.
Hello?
Check your network.
I can see it now.
We don't have much time. I have another lecture. So let the gentleman.
I can see it now. I can see it now.
You should understand that we are doing an online class. Depending on your network connectivity, reception, you may have challenges. Okay. So far as some can see, and you can see, just like when you are making a call, hello, the person is speaking. Sometimes standing next to the person, they say the number you are calling cannot be reached. Okay. So don't get yourself worked up. That's why we are recording it. Go ahead, sir, with your question. I've muted you all, so please unmute.
Okay. So my question is, from the example 2 about the administrator and lateness, it means that there can't ever be a deductive argument when one of the premises is based on previous events.
It depends on how you are speaking. Deduction and induction is based on how the person is speaking. If I say the administrator will arrive on time anytime it rains. If I say the administrator will arrive on time anytime it rains. Or in the past, the administrator arrived on time whenever it rained.
Yes.
What examples you got? I want to say it in a way that would be deductive, and yet I'm referencing the past. So let's say that whenever it rained in the past, the administrator arrived on time. That's my first premise. Then I tell it is raining now. So the administrator will arrive on time. This would be deductive.
But then the administrator could arrive late for the first time.
You didn't hear me. You didn't hear me. Listen, whenever it rained, she will arrive on time. It is raining now. If I listen. I want you to listen, folks. Who is talking there? But I'll lock you in the spirit too. Okay. It is the form. I said whenever it rains, it rained in the past, the administrator arrived on time. It is raining right now. So I conclude that the admin will arrive on time. That's deductive. It's modus ponens. So let's explain. Why is it so? If it were true that whenever it rained in the past, the administrator arrived, and it is also assumed to be true that it is raining now, then we will have no other way around it than to accept that then, based on the premises, you see, this one too must be true. Like the example I gave you. If all men are bullies, it's true. The statement, all men are bullies, is assumed to be true because it may not be true actually. That's what we are dealing with. It may not be true. It's your pastor. or whoever you revere, your father or something, is he a bully? Okay, but we can say that all men are bullies. Madam Nancy is a man. It has to follow, therefore, that then Madam Nancy is a bully. Meanwhile, Madam Nancy is not a man. And it may not even be true that all men are bullies. So you will realize, look on the screen, that's why I was going to, that you can have a valid deduction, which is not sound. I'm introducing another concept now. The deduction may be valid. Valid means your conclusion follows from the premises. What we have studied so far, that is a deduction. But the content is not speaking to truth out there. So you see that your premises are not reflecting what actually happened, yet it is deductively valid. For example, look at example 2 on the screen. Still answering your question. I wanted to hold on, you to hold on. If I did all this, then you see that your question would dissolve. Someone will go ahead like that. Those who couldn't follow get lost in the midst of the whole. But we'll get back to it. So look at example 2, which says, when you are taking some of my time, so you keep quiet so that I'll give it to you. You are stealing it and you are distracting it. Listen, my dear friend, all human beings have feathers. Socrates is a human being. It will follow that Socrates has feathers. That's deductively valid. All human beings have feathers. If it were true that all human beings have feathers, and it is also true that Socrates is a human being, wouldn't it follow then that he too has feathers? Because something that is true of all human beings, whatever is identified as a human being, who had it? So it is an assumption. If it were true that all human beings have feathers, it doesn't mean that actually human beings have feathers. That is not what has been said. Okay, so what makes example 2 a deduction and a valid one that is also modus ponens is that if it were true that all human beings have feathers and Socrates is a human being, it will have to be true also that Socrates has feathers. That would be a deduction and a valid deduction. Some deductions are not valid. You learn it later. Okay, except that look at example 1 and example 2. There's a difference. Example 1 says all men are mortal. So mortal means they die. All men die. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. That is deductive, just like the second one. But the first example is sound. It has an extra quality. Not only is it deductive, but the premises are both true. Look at it. It is true that men die. Actual truth by observation. It's true that men die. And then it is also true, actually, not potential or assumed. It's also true that Socrates is a man. So, for example, 1, it is both deductive, valid, and also what? True premises. So, an extra quality has been added to the first one. That is why it is a sound argument. It's not just valid, but it is also what? Sound. Whereas the second argument is still valid. That is, it is a deduction. The conclusion is drawn directly from the premise. So it's a deduction. However, it is not sound. Why? Because the premises are not all true. Okay? It is not true that human beings have feathers. That alone makes it unsound, even though the conclusion is drawn from the premises. And I suppose that interjection will help our friends understand it. A lady who asked about verbal dispute and substantive disagreement is there. Okay, I'll give you 4 minutes, then it will be exactly 12:30, and I can end. So friends, take note. What have we done so far? We've looked at types of discourses after taking all your questions from the past. We've looked at types of discourses. We've seen argument, the types, the parts, the diagnosis of them. We have even added not just validity of a deductive argument. We have not just engaged the slides are at resource 2. Antiadua, MFA doesn't know. Go to resource 2. It's there. If you are in group 14, go to the resource 2. I uploaded the slides weeks ago. Okay, because it's a continuation of the lecture 2. So it's there. It's on that slide, that same slide. Go through to the end. Okay, we have seen soundness and validity. I didn't mean to interfere in your conversation. You put it out for all of us to hear. So we heard it, and I'm reacting to help you. All right, soundness and validity. Now this one, look at it very well. I'll ask you when I meet you. I don't know how I'll ask you to identify the premises, the conclusion in this passage on the screen. You have it in your slide. I've labeled it trial. I think it's slide number 24. Go through it and know what the conclusion is, because there is no indicator word anywhere. No so, therefore, hence, since, nothing. We will delve a little bit more into distinguishing verbal dispute from substantive disagreement. And then the 6 senses of the word law that will help your understanding of equivocation, which we treated earlier. All of these are in that unit. We are just cut them into chunks and we work in a way that will meet your concerns. Not that I'm just teaching and teaching and teaching, but I take your questions and clarify. So let me help the sister who asked the question about verbal and substantive, because she has read it. And then when we meet as a class after your further reading, I can still take further questions. But I need you to study the content in the textbook. Now, my dear sister who asked that question, verbal dispute is a disagreement or a dispute that borders on what? Language, how you are using language. So if I say, he's red, and you say, my friend say, no, it's true. I say, Coco, red, it's true. French people will say what? Rouge, eh? The French person will say rouge. Then the English person say red. And I say, Coco, the Gambian person say true. And I say, the thing is not Coco, it's red. You say, it's not red, it's echu. It's not echu, it's rouge. And we are fighting. Someone just has to come there and tell us, hold on, everyone, hold on. You guys are not disagreeing. Red is another name for rouge. And rouge is another name for echu. So we are all saying red, but with different languages. All of us will say, but case that. Because the disagreement was not about opinions or values or cultural background or upbringing. You know, it wasn't substantive. It was just referencing the language we are using. We are using language inconsistently. That means I'm saying the same thing but in a different way. So it can be resolved by what? A stipulative definition, a definition that we agree on. We can agree on something and then the debate will be dissolved because it was language based. The sister who asked the question, you have read it, so you will grasp it. If the rest of you do not understand, fine. Just engage it further. But someone has read and has a question. The session is for questions and answers, not for lectures. The lecture is different. Okay. All right. So let me tell Madam that then that dispute was merely verbal, if it borders on language. Example is what you see on the screen. She is a nurse. That's Kofi speaking. A woman comes to pass by wearing her uniform. So she says, hey, she's a nurse. Then Kojo says, who? Yeah. Wow. I don't think she's a nurse. So you are expecting the Kojo to give something else. She's not a nurse, she's maybe a carpenter or something. Then Kojo says, no, she's a health worker instead. Now Kofi says she's a nurse. Kojo says no. When you hear no, you think it is different, something different. So you say, oh, she's not a nurse. What work does she do? So she's a health worker. That is not a disagreement. That is not a disagreement. Because nurse and health worker are saying the same thing differently. Nurses are health workers, really. Okay. So it is a verbal dispute. If the nurse, not even health worker, nurse, health worker, you are the Brian. Wait, let me finish. I thought I'm addressing it. Let me finish the sister's one. Nurse, health worker, nurse, health worker. It is verbal. Someone just should tell one of us that, oh, but nurses are health workers. That's all. The case will dissolve. So this is language-based, verbal. Substantive disagreement, however, is not based on language. In other words, not definition. Or if you mean merely factual. No. It is mostly centered on what? Values, opinions, people's point of view of what should constitute that word. What should, remember prescriptions, value judgment, topic 1. So look at the same debate again. I'll just give you the example. I really have to go now. Kofi is saying she's a nurse because she has a certificate from the training school. Kofi no kasa you. Kofi speaking. He says she's a nurse because she has a certificate from the training school. That is Kofi's reason. Then Kojo says no, she's not really a nurse because she does not care for her patients. I hope you saw it. As for this one, Kojo's reason is she's not really a nurse. But she may be wearing the uniform, she may have certificates. But for Kojo, that showed a prescription, a value judgment. That should not constitute being a nurse. That's why Kojo says, no, she's not really a nurse. Because for Kojo, a nurse should take care of her patient. So the sister has a certificate. She wears the gown, but she doesn't take care of the patient. Then she goes manicure, pedicure, TikTok, WhatsApp, and Telegram. Then snapshots or Snapchat. That's how I call it. That's what she's doing. And when you are coming in labor, then she's there looking at you. Don't make my bed sheets better to you. Please wait. They are coming to. That's what she's doing there. So for Kojo, she may have 1,001 certificates from Ghana, Afghanistan, and everywhere, and Ukraine, Russia. She can have all those certificates. You can't convince Kojo to forcefully accept that to mean she's a nurse. So the debate they are having is not about how many certificates you put there. Kojo will not be convinced because it's not a factual matter, or if you like, a definition matter, but it is what? A value, opinion-oriented matter, not feelings, so opinion, point of view. Sometimes about what? Religion, culture, what have you. So the person has an opinion about what, look at my language, what should constitute being a nurse, not what people have agreed or what has been defined as a nurse. So now your textbook will be clearer. She's not really a Christian because she doesn't speak in tongues. She's really a Christian because she's baptized. That's a substantive disagreement. It's not a verbal one. And Yadwa, does this help a little, just a little bit for your reading? Are you still with us? The sister who had a question.
Yes.
Okay, so now you should engage further because of I skipped a little forward to touch on it to help you understand it. When you look at the examples in the textbook, you will see he's not playing a piano or something. No, he's playing attentive because I'm sitting closer. No, I think it is a clarinet because you are far away, I can see you. That is a verbal something. If you come closer, we can resolve it easily. It's not, in my point of view, the person is holding dondo. When we all know what dondo is, the person is holding a flute, and you say, no, me, I'm sitting closer, so I say it's dondo. It's a matter of what? Coming closer. We will resolve it. We can stipulate minutes immediately. But if I say a Black American, these are all from your textbook. So if you have seen it, I'm referencing that. Black American is really American. And the other person says, no, Black American is really Black or African American. An African American is really African. And I say, no, an African American is really American. This is not a verbal dispute. Don't go and bring your passport to show anything. The person is making a prescription of what should constitute an African American. And so on that note, your colleagues in the other group are waiting for me. Send me all your queries directly. I've given you my WhatsApp number. Yes, that people, did I give it to this class? I think I didn't.
No.
Madam, you did. I think you did.
020-733-1599. I'll send you. No, you can play this back and get it. I'm a married. I love my husband. Don't call me 12 midnight. I'll be praying.
Thank you, madam.
So you can send me and better questions if you still need it.
Please,
Yes, madam, pray.
After you have taken
Madam.
it.
Like 911.